Ladies and gentlemen, most people don't realize this, but men are not wired to bond emotionally the way society expects them to, at least not at first. You see, a man's core biology and psychology have been shaped over thousands of years through survival, conquest, responsibility, and provision. Beneath the surface of every masculine being is an energy system that is oriented not toward emotion first, but mission. He must feel he is living in alignment with something greater than himself before he can fully offer his heart. Let's break that down. From a neurological perspective, the male brain is highly compartmentalized. Unlike the female brain, which is wired for connection across both hemispheres, allowing for rich emotional and verbal exchange, the male brain is more lateralized, more task-oriented. Testosterone, the dominant hormone in masculine energy, drives focus, challenge, and achievement. This doesn't mean men don't feel, it means they feel differently, and on a different timeline. A man cannot access the deepest layers of emotional intimacy if his nervous system is out of alignment, if he feels lost, ungrounded, or disconnected from his inner compass. Because here's the truth, the masculine is order. It is direction. When a man wakes up in the morning and doesn't know what he's working toward, when he doesn't feel that he's making progress toward a meaningful goal, his entire energy field contracts. His body becomes tense, his mind foggy, and his emotional bandwidth shrinks. He is not available for deep love when he's not available to himself. This is why the highest form of love a man can give is offered only after he feels that he is walking in purpose. You may ask, what does purpose really mean? It's not just a career or a title. It's not a financial figure or social validation. It's an internal resonance, a frequency, a state of coherence between his thoughts, his beliefs, and his action. When a man is in alignment, his brain and heart begin to work in harmony. Heart coherence, as measured in neurocardiology, shows us that the electromagnetic field of the heart expands dramatically when we are in a state of inner truth and elevated emotion. When a man taps into that state, something remarkable happens. He becomes present, he listens, he feels more. His nervous system opens up like a flower turning toward the sun. He becomes available to love, to connection, to vulnerability, not as a weakness, but as a sacred exchange. But when a man feels that he is failing at life, that he lacks vision, that he is being pulled in 1,000 directions with no meaning, then even the most beautiful, loving, emotionally intelligent woman cannot reach him. It's not personal. It's neurological, it's spiritual. You see, the masculine does not give freely until it believes it has something worthy to give. If he doesn't feel strong in himself, he'll resist dependence. He'll resist exposure, not because he doesn't care, but because deep down he believes he must earn the right to offer his heart. This belief is embedded in both culture and consciousness. Even today, the unconscious masculine still believes, I must become before I can belong. So what does this mean for love? It means that when a woman meets a man who seems distant or unavailable, she must remember, it may not be that he lacks emotion. It may be that he lacks direction. And until he finds it, love will feel like a weight, not a gift. Because for the masculine, connection without purpose feels like chaos, and chaos is the very thing the masculine fears most. There is a subtle, powerful truth that shifts the dynamic between men and women, and very few ever truly understand it. Men don't fall in love because they are controlled. They open up when they feel safe, not safe from the world, but safe from judgment. Safe to reveal the parts of themselves they've spent a lifetime hiding, even from themselves. Emotional safety isn't something you can demand. It's not created through ultimatums, expectations, or manipulation. It's an energetic field, a resonance something a woman becomes, not something she does, because the nervous system doesn't lie. You can say all the right words, but if your energy vibrates with control, fear, or urgency, a man's body will contract. He will pull back, not because he doesn't want connection, but because something in his ancient biology tells him, I'm not free here. Let's go deeper. The male psyche has been conditioned to perform. From a young age, boys are told to win, to conquer, to dominate emotion, to stay in control. Vulnerability, for many men, has been encoded as weakness. So, when a man does begin to open up, when he begins to show you his doubts, his fears, his rawness, he is not doing something easy. He is crossing a threshold that often feels like danger. Now imagine this. He takes that risk, and what he finds is correction. Criticism, micromanagement, why don't you just do this, or you shouldn't feel that way. What happens in his nervous system? It shuts down. The limbic brain, the emotional brain, registers a threat. Not a physical one, but an emotional violation. And when the emotional brain senses threat, the body follows. His heart retreats, his presence fades, and suddenly he feels like love has become a cage. This is why emotional safety is so sacred. It allows the masculine to disarm without fear of being disrespected. It invites him into a space where he can feel, without losing his sense of masculine dignity. A space where his truth isn't fixed, but heard, and most importantly, not used against him later. Emotional safety is not passivity. It's not silence. It's not walking on eggshells. It's the opposite. It's fierce presence. It's emotional maturity. It's when a woman is so deeply rooted in her own worth, her own center, that she no longer needs to control the external to feel secure internally. She stops trying to change the man in front of her, and instead becomes so aligned within herself that she invites him to rise, not through force, but through frequency. You see, every human being has an electromagnetic field. The HeartMath Institute has shown us this, and that field broadcasts our state of being long before we speak a single word. When a woman is in a state of trust, when her own heart is coherent, the man in front of her feels it, even if he can't explain it. His nervous system relaxes, his guard drops, his mind quiets. That's when the real man shows up. Not the armored one, not the reactive one, but the one who has been waiting to be seen behind all the masks. And yet, the moment a woman starts trying to fix, direct, or manage his inner world, she inadvertently enters into a mother-child dynamic, and the romantic charge dissolves, because the masculine does not want to be led by force. It wants to be pulled forward by inspiration. By admiration, by the mirror of a woman who believes in his essence, not just his potential. When emotional safety is present, a man finds freedom in intimacy, but when control is present, he finds suffocation disguised as love. The deeper paradox is this: the more a woman tries to control, the more love eludes her, but the moment she embodies trust in herself, in life, in the man, she unlocks his deepest devotion, not through pressure, but through presence. Not through control, but through her energetic permission for him to be whole. Even in his brokenness, there is a frequency in this universe that doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't push, it attracts. It draws things in not by force, but by resonance. This is the nature of true feminine energy. It is not about doing more, proving more, saying more. It is about being aligned, present, and open in a way that compels the world and the masculine to respond differently. Feminine energy is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is the most powerful force on the planet because it doesn't need to demand attention to command it. It doesn't control outcomes with logic or pressure. Instead, it vibrates with certainty, trust, and emotional gravity. It becomes the field that everything else responds to. Let's talk science for a moment. Every living being has an electromagnetic field. But the field of the heart is exponentially more powerful than the field of the brain. The heart is an intuitive organ. It sends signals to the brain more than it receives them. When a woman drops into her heart, she changes her energetic signal. Her entire frequency shifts from resistance to receptivity, and this shift, this state of internal coherence, creates what science now calls entrainment. That means her calm, embodied presence literally causes the people around her to subconsciously attune to her energy. This is why feminine energy is magnetic. But magnetism cannot coexist with desperation. It cannot coexist with control. It does not thrive when a woman is constantly in her head, calculating how to be loved, how to be chosen, how to be validated. The moment she steps into that frequency, she begins chasing, and chasing is always a signal of internal lack. You chase what you believe is running away from you. You attract what you believe is already yours. A woman who lives in her feminine does not ask for love with her words. She becomes love in her vibration. She doesn't demand presence. She inspires it. She doesn't beg for commitment. She becomes the kind of woman whose energy makes a man want to commit without even knowing why. Because her essence is not based on what she needs from him. Her essence is anchored in who she already is. You see, the masculine is not designed to respond to pressure. It does not expand in the presence of emotional demand. It recoils, it shuts down, it feels energetically tested. But when a woman shifts from trying to get something to simply being something, the entire dynamic transforms. Think of it like this. Masculine energy is fire, feminine energy is space. Fire cannot breathe when it's smothered, but give it space oxygen, and it grows stronger. Likewise, a woman in her feminine doesn't smother a man's heart with intensity or control. She gives him the energetic oxygen to rise, to lead, to want to come closer. But here's the paradox. Most women are trained out of this. They are taught to pursue, to strive, to prove their worth, to match masculine energy with masculine effort. And in doing so, they lose the very power that makes them unforgettable. Because feminine energy doesn't compete. It doesn't negotiate for love. It doesn't cling to what's not choosing it. It knows that its presence is the value. This is not about playing games. This is not about pretending to be detached. Feminine magnetism is not manipulation. It is authenticity. It's when a woman has done the inner work to feel full in herself. Her love is not coming from emptiness. Her presence is not a performance. Her energy doesn't say, "Please love me." Her energy says, "I am love." And because of that, she becomes the rarest kind of force in a world full of noise, the woman who doesn't need to chase, because everything meant for her feels drawn in by her frequency. There is a place within each of us that is untouched by fear, free from insecurity, and immune to the illusions of lack. It's not found in the mind. It doesn't speak in words. It doesn't argue or justify or control. That place is the heart. Not the sentimental heart, not the poetic metaphor, but the real heart. The electromagnetic, intuitive, coherent force that exists within every human being. And yet, it only truly awakens when the ego finally steps aside. Now let's understand this clearly. The ego is not the enemy. It's a part of our evolutionary biology. It was built to protect us, to identify threats, to create identity, and keep us alive. But the ego was never designed to lead. It was designed to react. It operates from the past. It pulls information from previous pain, past betrayals, and old survival patterns. Its job is to keep you safe, but it doesn't care if you're happy. It just wants you familiar, and love, real love, is not familiar to an unhealed ego. The heart, on the other hand, is a gateway to the present moment. It doesn't rely on memory. It relies on truth, on frequency, on a deeper intelligence that doesn't need proof because it feels what is aligned, and the science backs this up. The heart emits an electromagnetic field that is over 5,000 times more powerful than that of the brain. It has its own nervous system, its own memory and logic. The heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. In other words, your emotional center holds wisdom that the analytical mind cannot comprehend. But here's the catch: the heart cannot lead when the ego is screaming, when the ego is calculating, when it's comparing, when it's striving to prove worth or grasping for control. It drowns out the subtle voice of the heart. The ego speaks in volume, the heart speaks in frequency. This is why so many people sabotage love without knowing it. They say they want connection, intimacy, devotion, but what they're really seeking is validation, control, a guarantee that they won't get hurt again, and so they lead with the ego's armor, not the heart's openness. But love doesn't answer to control. Love answers to resonance, and the only part of you capable of sustaining that resonance is your heart. When the ego steps aside, what's left is presence, not a version of you trying to be perfect, but a version of you that is simply real. That realness is magnetic. It's healing, because it gives the other person permission to lower their guard too. Two open hearts can create a frequency so coherent, so powerful, it begins to rewire old trauma, dissolve unconscious patterns, and activate states of joy that the mind could never fabricate. But this requires something terrifying to the ego: surrender. The willingness to be seen without masks, the courage to feel without filters, the strength to risk not being in control, and still stay open. The moment you drop into your heart, your breath changes. Your nervous system calms, your awareness expands. You stop asking, "What do I need to get?" and instead begin to ask, "What do I want to give?" You stop measuring love by what's returned and start recognizing love by how alive you feel in the giving. And that's the essence of divine masculine and feminine polarity. It's not a game of tactics or technique. It's an energetic dance that begins when two people stop performing and start feeling. When the heart leads, conversations become deeper. Conflicts become clearer. Desires become cleaner. You are no longer in a relationship to fill a void. You're in it to share your overflow. But the moment the ego takes the wheel again, love becomes a transaction. It becomes conditional. It becomes about winning, being right, staying safe. And yet, the heart is never interested in winning. It's interested in expanding, in connecting, in elevating the emotional state of everyone it touches. At the core of every human being is an intelligence that transcends logic, surpasses memory, and moves beyond calculation. It doesn't operate in the language of control or fear. It doesn't rely on status, appearance, or identity. This is the intelligence of the heart, an ancient quantum-level consciousness that knows before it understands, feels before it analyzes, and leads before it needs to be led. But for this intelligence to activate, one condition must be met. The ego must step aside. The ego, by design, is a survival mechanism. It is a structure built from past experiences, conditioned responses, inherited fears, and societal programming. Its job is to create a sense of identity, to build a boundary between self and other, and to control what feels unpredictable. The ego fears the unknown because the unknown threatens its definition of self. It fears love because love requires vulnerability, and vulnerability threatens its illusion of power. When a person leads from the ego, everything becomes transactional. Relationships become contracts, intimacy becomes negotiation, emotions become strategies, even love becomes a performance, shaped and filtered to protect the ego's fragile shell. The ego doesn't want connection, it wants certainty. It doesn't want to be seen, it wants to be admired, it doesn't want to open. It wants to win, but the heart does not seek to win. The heart seeks to expand, to dissolve barriers, to merge, to understand, to give without calculation. The heart's frequency is not defensive. It is open, resonant, fluid, and this is not just metaphor, it's measurable. The heart produces the largest electromagnetic field in the human body. It can be detected several feet outside of you. This field carries emotional information. When you feel love, compassion, gratitude, coherent states, the rhythm of your heart becomes smooth, synchronized, and harmonic. It communicates to your brain and your body that you are safe, present, and connected. This coherence isn't an emotion. It's a state of being. It's what happens when the body, the brain, and the soul fall into alignment. But coherence cannot be achieved through force. It cannot be achieved by pretending, posturing, or manipulating. It is only available when the ego loosens its grip. When the mind softens, the past is surrendered, and the now becomes enough. Love cannot be fully accessed when the ego is in control, because the ego lives in fear of loss. The ego is always calculating, am I enough? Will I be abandoned? Do they see me? What if I'm hurt again? These questions create static in your energetic field. They disconnect you from the intuitive wisdom of your heart. And the more you seek answers from the mind, the further you drift from your inner guidance system. But when the ego steps aside, something radical happens. There is silence, not emptiness, but space. Space for truth, space for presence, space for another person to feel you instead of reacting to your defenses. In this space, the need to perform dissolves. The obsession with outcomes fades. What remains is awareness, pure, grounded, unfiltered awareness. And from that place, love flows without force. The heart leads through stillness. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It whispers. It invites. It speaks in feelings, not formulas. But most people never hear it because their ego is too loud. They're trying to be chosen, trying to be right, trying to control the flow of relationships based on old wounds and unhealed beliefs. The heart cannot operate in that environment. It needs surrender, not strategy. And surrender isn't weakness, it's strength in its highest form. It's not giving up, it's giving into a deeper truth, to an inner knowing, to a power that doesn't need to be explained to be real. When the heart leads, love no longer becomes something to get, it becomes something to give. You stop trying to protect your self-image, and instead you allow your full self to be seen. The paradox is that what the ego believes it must control, the heart can transform through presence. The ego says, you'll be safe when you control. The heart says, you are safe when you trust. The ego says, earn love. The heart says, you are love. The ego says, protect yourself. The heart says, reveal yourself. The ego reacts. The heart responds. The ego clings. The heart allows. The ego divides. The heart unites.